Good evening and welcome to Calypso Showcase, the strong vibes day of Siamanda. Andre Tanker can set you in that kind of a mood, and he's our special guest tonight. Andre, welcome to Calypso Showcase.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Alvin.
Well, I know the word World Beat is going around, and we know this big World Beat music festival is coming up. But before we get to that, what's been happening with Andre Tanker? You know, you keep a low profile, so I know a lot happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, I just came back from England working on Carnival Messiah, which is a huge production with, what, 100 people.
Well, this is Geraldine Connor's production, and rave reviews as far as I have heard.
Yep. I was the musical director, so I had to work with all the various kinds of music.
Were you there for the opening night?
Yep.
Well, what was it like?
It was sold out and standing ovation, and the critics were all there on that night, and the reviews has been a result of that big opening.
What are some of the names that we would recognize that was in that production?
Okay, well, immediately you'd recognize names like Ella Andel, Alison Brown of Tan Tan fame.
Correct.
There's a brilliant Trinidad singer based in London called Ronald Sam, who's part of it. There's a Jamaican dub poet called Jean Binta Breeze, who is also part of that. We have young people like Renee Castle.
Oh yes, a very good actress and singer.
And a host of other brilliant performers. Yeah.
Andre Tanker is out there doing his thing.
Yeah.
You know, I go back and I think of the days at the Look Cinema, Sunday morning sessions.
Right.
Andre Tanker doing beautiful cover versions of international pop hits.
Right.
Then suddenly a transition. What caused that transition to the indigenous music of Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay, I would say towards the end of the 60s into the 70s was a time of consciousness for the entire population, including myself. And it wasn't only in Trinidad, but it was a Caribbean thing, and it was an American thing in the way that black people started to come into their own. They wanted to define their own priorities.
Did that have anything to do with the 1970 revolution in Trinidad?
Of course, I was all part of it.
You were part of it?
Yeah. And the music that came out at that period has been the germ that has sort of energized my whole thrust as a writer, in that it is music that is very strong in Afro-Caribbean roots, East Indian roots, folk music, you know.
I first knew you as a xylophone player, but how many instruments do you play, and what is your pet instrument?
Yeah, well, in the background you can hear me in my vibes days, which I still play in the studio mainly, like to do soundtrack recordings for films and so on. Pet instrument I don't have, you know. I play the
you
guitar.
sing, you play guitar, flute, harmonica, what else?
Music is really from up there, you know, and I try to bring it out in whatever instrument I play, whatever I do, you know.
But these days, we always seem to see you with a guitar on stage and the little harmonica in the
That's
back
with
pocket.
the band, yeah. When I work with the band, I do that.
A little bit of flute, clarinet?
Yeah.
Or just the flute?
Flute, yeah. Blues harp.
World Festival.
World Beat?
World Beat. Oh. Would you, first of all, a lot of people describe your music as world music.
Yeah.
How do you describe your music?
Yeah, I think it's Caribbean world music, in that it's Caribbean based, but reaching out to all corners of the world. Yeah.
And that's what you try to do?
Yeah, that's what excites me a lot, you know, in the music. And
what are the principal aspects of Trinidad culture that you try to inculcate in your music?
Our unique population, of course, you know.
You deliberately go for the African and the East Indian rhythms? Does that,
French,
would you say,
Spanish.
dominate your music, or?
Yeah, my music is strongly Trinidadian, but really Caribbean. In that
Caribbean, because there's a lot of Latin American in a lot of your pieces.
Jamaican and Haitian, and you know.
Have you been able to estimate how many compositions you've done to date?
No, but it's a few hundred.
It's a few hundred?
Yeah.
As many as that. Well, we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, usually the time I should take counting the songs, I usually write in another song.
Another song. We're going to give the viewers a taste of probably one of the oldest clips we have here at TTT, done in the early 80s on a TNT music show, which was hosted in those days by Dave Elcock. Here you're doing Steel Band Ties.
He had to stick in US. He come to beat down the place. He was young and bad. He said he's a steel band man, but he couldn't beat the two-wheel band. They run him out the yard. Don't try that. Well, more than ever now, he wanted to learn to play. He take a pan and start practicing night and day. First the simple way, just from Joe and Ray, till he start to build a feel for melodious steel. Yeah. He work hard to master the scales, building chords he didn't want to fail in a big vineyard. So he decided to try again, was to beat with a steel band in quarter string. He did want it bad, so bad. This time he wanted the yard now ready to make it play. He jam a tune with the band and he started to ramage. Hear the leader say, who's that beating there? Pick him out and put him in front the tenor section. He's a jump down reggae, living each day to beat and to play steel band times. He's a jump down reggae, showing the way and beating each day steel band times. He's a jump down reggae, living each day to beat and to play steel band times. Steel band times, It's a jump down rhythm, showing the way and beating each day steel band times. Jam it.
Welcome back. You're viewing Calypso Showcase. Our special guest tonight is Andre Tanka, there with Chandradat Singh, our embassy man in Miami, doing a little piece called Tonal Seasons. Yep. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Yes, and tell us about your delving into this aspect of the Trinidad as music the sort of East Indian influence?
Yeah, well, growing up with radio as it used to be, it wasn't like this station playing this kind of music and that. So we heard everything, Latin, Calypso, North American, East Indian music. So that has been part of my musical
What you have imbibed.
indoctrination, yeah. So that when in the 70s I had to do a film score for the film BIM, I was able to draw on that experience and work with people like Mangal Patisar and Saga Sukraj, Yankaran Brothers, Tassa Hari, and a lot of fantastic musicians, Sham Rampasad, and
people listening to the way that music sounds would feel that you are more at home even in that domain than some of the others.
That's beautiful if you feel
Yes,
that, because it's all part of us,
And I've heard you play on the Orisha side, and again, I've seen again a deep involvement and drawing from that. What about that aspect of your music?
Right. Well, early in my career too, I met Andrew Bedu, who is a brilliant musician, singer, drummer, who Trinidad hardly paid much attention to. And he died some years ago. And he's almost like a guru to me. And his teachings he was able to guide me into aspects of that music, which prior to that, I was just like everybody else. You had a sort of prejudgment of anything to do with Orisha and even Baptist at that time.
Sort of inner fear kind of thing.
Yeah, and I was able to approach it with an open mind and realize that, hey, all people are trying to praise God in their own way, and they're all beautiful, and the music and the chanting is just captivating, So
just before the break, you did a piece, Steel Band Times.
Yeah.
And again, looking through your repertoire, you seem to always find something to say about the steel band man in, if I may say so, in a very original and novel way.
Yeah.
Talk about your relationship with the steel band.
Pan? Ellie Manet, the first instrument I played was a pan given to me by the great Ellie Manet.
Well, he's big news these days.
My cousin and myself, we used to harass him because we lived close to Invaders. Also close to Little Carib and John Buddy Williams.
Oh gosh, you can't go wrong with
I
that.
was right in the center of it. And one day he just said, look, take this pan, I don't think it was a very good pan, but to us it was the greatest pan in the world. And we just used to, make the most of it. And later on I had the pleasure of arranging a song for Invaders for the test piece. This was about 1965 or so. With incorporating a minor and all that, which was kind of exciting at that time. And later on I did some work with Ebonite Steel Band for Panorama. I did something with Phase 2 on the BIM soundtrack, arranging again for a version of Jumbie Call. And I work with a lot of great panels.
Well, I've seen you work with Bugsy, Robbie Greenwich, Dougie Redo.
Yeah.
So the interface has always been there in terms of working with the pan,
of course.
And but the composing itself, what drove you to compose some tunes on the pan?
Well, funnily enough, the way we express music, a lot of it has been drafted by the way pan plays music. As kids, when we hum a tune, we hum it like a steel band,
So it's natural and
it's natural. It's natural, and I would like to think that anything I write is compatible to pan.
Automatically.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we're going to give the audience a taste of two of your other selections, Here and Now and Meeting at the Crossroads. We'll talk a little bit when we come back about those two tunes.
Yeah,
but
man.
we'll let them see you perform those two tunes now.
But the truth will always survive, and the lies them a fall by the wayside. Bede, bede, bam, bam. And now the Son of Man is born again, and the love sustains our music delighting. I tell you more than just remain. 'Cause here and now, people, you are one day, you're free as the wind. You're the earth, you're the fire. Yeah. One day. Hear the song that I sing. You the beat and the feeling, 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 yeah, yeah. The living groove that we in. You just got to rock, you just got to rock, you just got to rock your soul. Whether day or night, gonna make you feel alright. And when you're feeling down, our music bring you around. Make you feel, make you feel, make you feel alright. Oh yeah, one day, ah yeah, Baba. Hashem one day, Hashem, oh yeah. Oh yeah, one day, ah yeah, Baba.